Arizona and New Mexico are a little tougher. Some states are smaller, don't have as many shops. Somewhere like Rhode Island, maybe Vermont.
Yeah.
But we have about 20, and we're always looking to upgrade our sales force and make sure we have the right people. A lot of people retire. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
They're schlepping around, the weather. Some of these people live in really snowy areas, really cold areas, and it takes a toll on you, staying at hotels and being away from your family, being on the road.
So what's a good day if you go to if someone goes to a shop and a shop buys fabric? What's a good day for a sales rep? What does that look like?
Well, a good rep could probably see two shops a day, maybe 3 max, depending on how long they take. Listen, if a rep wrote 75 bolts in an order, but you have to realize that the orders they're taking, they may be for at once, some may be for October.
Yeah.
So they're kind of all over the map. But I would say a rep would probably be happy with 50 plus bolts, having left the meeting, and probably worth their time, their gas, their hotel,
right,
and stuff like that. And
that's really interesting. That's hard work.
Totally. It's totally hard. I mean, they're schlepping the bags around. And listen, they're not 25-year-old kids. I mean, these are, for the most part, the reps that we have for blank are mostly women. I would say maybe I know one man for sure off the top of my head. I think another one left. I think it's only one man right now.
Interesting. Huh.
So mostly women. And what's nice about the blank sales reps is a lot of them are quilters or pattern makers, so they really know the talk.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go out, I know a little bit of the talk, but I don't know the talk. The deep. Once I get past my first sentence about the fabric, it's then they lose me usually because I don't go that deep. Although I am going to learn how to sew soon. That doesn't mean that'll change, but maybe I'll get a little bit better.
But see, maybe that's good because, you're not getting distracted by like, oh, I have to make that now. Maybe that's part of your success is that you've got like your a shield. All right, so we need to talk a little bit about intellectual property if you're cool with that. So what kind of role does copyright play or trademark play in your business?
So, listen, we have so many designs. You have to realize we're like last year, I think Henry Glass did 62 different lines.
Wow.
Studio E and Blank did around 50 lines. So there's no way that we could copyright or trademark all those designs. The licensed lines, a lot of the licensed designers will copyright or trademark on their own, but we do not. In the few cases where we've had lawsuits, we've copyrighted or trademarked after the fact.
Yeah.
And you could still do that, and we've had cases where we've done that and won.
Yeah.
Because people are misappropriating our designs, and we've had a couple incidents where that happens. And
interesting.
But it would just be a whole nother business if we had to trademark or copyright. I know a lot of the companies do it. I know Michael Miller does it, and I know the owners said in the past that they make more money with the lawsuits than than other things they make money on.
Somebody said that to me. I won't say who, but somebody said that to me at Market when I was telling him about that project. I thought that was craziness, That's really interesting.
Well, they're more into manufacturing.
Yeah.
We're really more about the quilt shops. They sell, they keep a lot of stock on their shelves, rolled on tubes, as opposed to cut up into the smaller, 10 or 15 yard pieces.
Yeah.
And they sell a lot to manufacturers. So it's probably more present in that industry. People are making things in big quantity, whether it's bags or things like that.
Got it.
So it's a bigger issue there.
So if you have that many lines, how long does a line stay in your selling area, and then what happens when you discontinue a line?
Okay, so our companies, everyone has a different method. Our method has been best is what we call one and done. Typically, we have a line. we'll release it at a quilt market. In other words, we'll release it for sale. Let's say. So I'll give you an example. So in May we have our quilt market. We'll have new lines out April 15th, which will be the ones that are really for the quilt market, but that's when we're going to start showing them. And those lines won't ship until probably 6 to 8 months later. So we pre-sell. So our reps will go out starting April 15th. They'll sell the lines, and let's say it's a December delivery. In September, I'll have to place my final order to print. So let's say by September, I have 10 different designs. I sold 1,000 yards of every SKU. I decide, hey, I'm going to buy 30% over. So I'm going to buy 1,300 yards of every SKU. It'll come in December. We ship a big chunk of the orders out right away, and then we kind of weed it down. If the line is a very popular line, we'll continue to bring it in as we see fit. But for the most part, the large majorities of the lines go in. Like the line I just said, we start showing April. It ships in December. By February, March, April, the line could be totally gone.
Amazing. That's really interesting.
And then listen, it's not a perfect science. We'll always end up with 5 pieces of this, 10 pieces of that, one SKU that just went bad or they overprinted, and we'll move through it and we close it out. But we like to move. We don't fall in love with our fabric. There's always more. Yeah. There's always more to sell. We'd rather clean the shelves off and make money, put money in our pockets and leave the fabric sitting there, growing hair and dust.
Interesting.
Because that doesn't do us any good. And so we're always moving.
Where is the fabric made? Does it vary depending on the company?
For the quilt shops only, the majority of the lines are done in Korea. Our cotton lines are done in Korea for the most part, and some companies use China. We do not at all. But then also we'll do some things in Pakistan. We do our wide backs in Pakistan. We do some of our less expensive white on whites and kind of more like versatile, simple fabrics there. We do a lot of our flannel in Pakistan as well. And, we'll do batiks. Those are Indonesia or Thailand, but we don't do a ton of that. And then we do some business in India as well. My brother actually just got back from India. We have an agent there. That's a little bit more of the chain business we do in India.
Interesting. All right, so on one of the projects I have is, what do you expect people to be doing with the fabric? Meaning, do you think that there should be any kind of restrictive licenses like you see on fabric, like for non-commercial use or any of those things? Like, how do you feel about that in terms of, like, you buy the fabric? What are we allowed to do with your fabric?
Well, okay. I think I can give you a good example. I think that'll give you all the answers. So we work with Cycle. Cycle is a company that has a license for all the colleges. So they have, Syracuse and Michigan and Wisconsin, and they sell the fabric. On the selvage of the fabric, it says you can't make finished products and sell it because the NCAA probably has a license with a company that sells blankets.
Right.
So they don't want people doing that. So they limit. I know this for a fact. They in some cases they have online sellers who sell their fabric, and they won't let them sell more than a bolt or two to one customer because that implies that they're trying to make something that they're going to sell.
Yeah.
So they'll go on every once in a while on one of these websites and place a purchase order. And if they say, I want to buy 5 bolts of this, and the machine lets them buy 5 bolts, they'll call them up and say, you can't do that, and potentially even take the license away from you.
Interesting. Right.
For us, people ask.
Uh-huh.
People usually ask me. I usually say it's okay. I don't think many of our people who are designing the fabric are, as into the licensing as an NCAA, who probably has cups and pillows and pillowcases and quilts and bedding and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And
I know they spend a lot of money going after that. Actually, if you want, I could hook you up with them and you could talk to them, because I'm sure
that'd be great. Yeah.
Hearing from them would be better. But I know it's a cost.
Yeah.
And they have lawyers going after these people.
And that makes a lot of sense. What about like your regular, like you make some bunny fabric? What kind of who's deciding what license goes on, and are you putting any serious restrictions on what people can do with the fabric?
We don't. We're pretty easy, but I bet some companies do put a restriction on it.
Yeah.
Listen, a house line that we do on our own would just have so if it was a Henry Glass designer did it, would just say Henry Glass.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really limit that. If a specific designer, maybe Kim Deal, if she sold, cups and plates and wrapping, maybe she would tell us that you need to limit it. But I haven't really come across that. It's not a huge part for me. The most I've done with the copyright or trademark has been with people stealing the design.
The design itself. So you're okay with someone like, making hats or blankets or something and selling them on Etsy. That doesn't bother you with your fabric?
No, not really.
It's really when it gets to like they've bought a ton of fabric and they're competing with you in your market for fabric. Is that right? But I don't even know if that would matter because they're still paying for the fabric, except for the licensed fabric. Like it always seems.
No, I think the license is more the companies who are licensing the fabric. They're the ones who have the bigger issue.
Yeah, interesting.
So they put the onus on you to protect it because you want to keep the license. I mean, these are very profitable licenses.
Yeah. Now, so the other question I have is, how do you know that if it's like? So I've seen a bunch of cases. Like, how do you know? Like, I make back to bunnies. Like, I'm a designer. I make a bunny design, and then some other company says I'm infringing on theirs. How do you know when you've got like? There's no like book out there or like registry of designs, right? So how do you know when it's all okay? Like, how do you know that there wasn't like, unconscious copying, or how do you regulate the fabric industry in terms of design so there isn't like a lot of conflict?
That's a great question. I really I don't know if I have an answer for you on that one. But, I do know like when we have had trademark or copyright issues, they've said, who created this design? What year was it? Do you have, do you have any documentation or any proof or something like that? But there really is no way. I mean, it's really all by seeing and knowing and, recognizing. I came across a situation recently where a quilt shop of mine said, hey, there's a company that's selling knit dresses with your designs on them.
Ah.
So it turned out it was a company in China was copying our designs and selling finished products to all different companies in the U.S. and they were selling our stuff. But you know what? It wasn't even worth getting. It just wasn't worth it. We couldn't even do anything. Like it just was because they were overseas. There really wasn't a lot we could do. But what we did do was we advised customs. So customs is probably going to give them a hard time getting stuff back into the U.S. Super
interesting. Yeah. That's important part of.
But we kind of get like these things are like a lot of times they're a dead end.
Yeah.
And it's that makes it a problem, because there's not a lot you could do. I mean, how am I getting a company in China? I'm really not.
All right. So I have so many questions for you. Polka dots. Do you do a lot of polka dots? I'm doing a whole paper on polka dots and the copyrightability of polka dots because it turns out that the courts love polka dots. Isn't that weird? There's a lot of cases on polka dots.
Well, we do polka dots. I think nowadays the problem with polka dots is everyone has them. Yeah. So usually when we add polka dots into a line, they'll be weak sellers.
Interesting.
Because all the shops, they already have it. Like,
polka dots.
do I need to make a black and white dot on my line? I really don't. Someone has it. So we've been trying to avoid that just because they haven't been selling as well as, unique designs.
Yeah, interesting. And what about batting? You've gotten into airlight batting. Tell me a little bit about the batting industry and why you're selling it.
Well, it turned out that a couple of the blank reps had been selling that. We allow the reps to sell things that are non-fabric on their own if they want. So a bunch of them were selling it, and we spoke to the owner of Airlight, and he said, okay, we'll try that. And our reps are now selling that. Other than that, I can't tell you that much. I would be, like I said, I would be more than glad to put you in touch with the owner of Airlight, and you could learn about batting.
Sure. Sounds good.
I don't sell a lot of batting personally. It's really more the reps are doing it. So
Yeah.
I kind of didn't embrace it as much as I probably should have.
Yeah.
But it's a competitive area.
Yeah.
Definitely, a lot of people
Hugely.
are,
It's
loyal
craziness.
to Dream and
Yeah.